According to Bankrate, over half of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency. And most people think it's because they don't make enough, but it turns out it has nothing to do with that, because the biggest waste of money is actually coming from our own behavior. And in the past 5 years alone, I've been able to save close to $60,000 with just 9 tiny habits. And number 7 alone helped me avoid $15,000 of debt recently. So today I'm sharing some of the best money saving rules that can help you do the same, starting with the most powerful one: tracking your spending. Now, I've been tracking my spending for over 13 years now, and it's really cool to see some of the behaviors that I've taken up in that time. I can look back to my very first job at Chick-fil-A where I was making $7.50 an hour, and my first paycheck ever was $209.55. And after some bills and savings, my account balance was at $49.59. That was the beginning of it all. Since then, my spending habits have changed substantially over the years. I'm no longer just buying breakfast burritos and paying for hockey like I did in high school. And instead, I'm far more interested in investing as much as possible and making sure that I pay my bills. But getting into the habit of tracking your spending really can set you up for a ton of financial success going forward. But to make it easier on myself, I've always done a combination of manual tracking and letting an app do some of the work. And because I've been at this for 13 years, I've used almost every single app that exists out there. And really, I've always tried to stick to the free ones, because why would I pay for something as basic as tracking my spending? So I've tried Mint in the past. I've used Empower more recently because that's a free one as well. But a few weeks ago, I found one that is criminally underrated, especially for the price point of being actually free forever, like they have on their website. And what set me off for this one is the 3 main points that I look for in terms of a financial app. Number 1, it has to have a net worth tracker, because tracking your net worth is essentially your financial scorecard, and it tells you if you're going in the right direction or not. Second, it has to track your expenses, so I always want a very clear breakdown of every category that my money is heading to. And then if I'm curious about what's in those categories, I should be able to click on it and drill in a little bit further. And what's really cool about Nero is that they also have a custom AI that can have the context of all your financial transactions when you're talking to it, kind of like a financial advisor would. So it's way better than using something like ChatGPT, where you'd have to upload your data for it to get some context and give you personalized help. And the best part is, if you're a free user, you get up to 30 conversations a month. And if you really want to go crazy and do more than that, they were generous enough to give me a 50% discount if you use the code Logan. So if you'd like to use Nero at no extra cost to you, I'll leave my link in the description below so you can start tracking your spending. Number 2 is the no gadget rule, inspired by the legendary Inspector Gadget.
Go Gadget Chopper.
Do you guys remember that guy? Anyways, I love gadgets like my iPhone, my iPad, my AirPods. Like, all of these things are really great, but I always make sure to let things like this run themselves into the ground before I ever consider getting an upgrade. And that's because they're not necessary to my day-to-day life. I don't think anybody needs a brand new iPhone every year they come out. I mean, I think this is like an iPhone 11 or 13. I don't even know what version they're on right now, but it's lasted quite a few years and it works just fine. And the same goes for laptops. Generally speaking, my laptops have lasted 4 to 6 years, depending on what type they are. And my wife's MacBook has lasted since 2017. And I only have an iPad because this was given to me as a gift. But if your goal is saving money, these things are not necessary for most of the tasks that you need in your day-to-day. You can make the argument for your phone or your laptop if you need to do work, but I use the iPad as a great example because it's like $1,000 for basically just another laptop. The only thing I use my iPad for is for the infinite canvas, so I can draw mental models. And as helpful as that is, I don't know if it's worth $1,000. And if you were to buy the big gadgets that, let's say, Apple sells, for example, you could easily spend $800 on an Apple Watch, $1,000 on an iPad, $3,500 on Apple Vision Pro, $250 for AirPod Pros, and then, you know, if you want to AirTag, $30. So if you add that up, that's over $5,000 on just gadgets. You can call me old-fashioned or a boomer or whatever you want, but that's just insane to me. I don't know if I would ever spend that much money on stuff like that. So if you can avoid them, do it. If not, at the very least, don't upgrade them every single year. The third one is coming up with creative date nights. When you first start dating someone, it's very easy to fall into the expectation that you have to take them out to some type of fancy dinner and pay for the whole thing, at least from a guy's perspective, which is the only perspective that I can give. And it's almost as if whatever dollar amount you spend, that's going to equate to how much you like the person. But that doesn't have to be the case. There's no rules with this stuff that you have to follow, and you can easily come up with creative ways to go out with somebody without breaking the bank. For example, when my wife and I started dating, we went on hikes all the time. It's free, it's outdoors, we love physical activity, and there's a lot of room for good conversation when you're going on a hike because you're pretty much one-on-one with somebody for hours on end. And in the summer, we also went rollerblading a lot around neighborhoods and parks because it's free and it's a fun way to get outside and enjoy the summer weather. And the nice thing is we like being active, so these were perfect activities for the both of us. Those are 2 personal examples, but whatever you're interests are, you can certainly find low-cost options that'll be fun for the person you're with. And if not, that's a great way to find out that some of your interests may not align with theirs, and then you could just break up with them. Okay, I'm kidding on that last part, but I think you get the point. The fourth is to buy generic brands. Far and above, the easiest way to waste money at the grocery store is to buy name brand over the generic store brand that they have. And it might even be common knowledge at this point, which I hope that it is, but a lot of the products that you see at grocery stores are manufactured in the exact same factory. They are just packaged differently based on the company that's selling them. So one very simple example is the Kirkland batteries that they sell at Costco. Those are Duracell batteries with different wrapping, so they're effectively the same thing, but just a lot cheaper than if you were to buy Duracell. Amazon does the same thing for things like workout clothes, for example. They make dupes of all of the top brands and then they sell them for way cheaper. And even if there are slight differences in the products, in my opinion, it's going to be worth it because it's so easy to adapt to something new after a few days or a few weeks of using it. So why not save some money and go the generic route? Number 5 is just reducing the energy usage at your home. And if you grew up with a dad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't touch the damn thermostat. Turn that light off. Only flush for number 2. Close that damn window. I don't know why that turned into a southern accent. But anyways, as extreme and unnecessary as that felt when we were kids, dads are kind of right. Electricity and energy in general isn't exactly cheap, and using it a lot throughout the month can really add up. Of course, it depends on where you live and what time of the year it is, but for me, my electricity ranges from like $50 in the winter up to $250 plus in the summertime. But a simple way to save on this stuff is to log into your utility provider online and find the usage metrics that you can look at over time. And that can give you a sense of how much you used and how much it has costed in the past, and that can help you plan for the future as well. And while you're there, it might be worth checking out if they have some type of incentive or program that can help you save money by installing something like a smart thermostat, for example. My electricity provider reached out to me a few years ago and they installed this completely for free. And then as a thank you, they send me a $25 check every single year. And the only thing I give up is a few days a year for a few hours at a time. They get to control my AC or my heat depending on what they need. So it's a small trade-off in my eyes for 25 bucks and then a nicer thermostat than I had previously. So check with your utility companies if they have something like that. Most likely they do because it's usually in everyone's best interest. Libraries are an incredible secret that sit in plain sight, and obviously we all know that they exist, but it's so easy to forget about them when we have the internet in our pockets. And the thing is, if you want a book for free, you can either 1, pirate it, which don't do that, or 2, you can borrow it from a friend. Anyways, the library has way more than just books. They have movies, music, audiobooks, live events, all kinds of ways to learn and be entertained completely for free. And I know it's not technically free because you're paying taxes, but that's a separate issue. You know what's crazy? I've always pictured the library as a family-friendly place and mainly for kids, which it basically is. But they offer a service called Hoopla, which has free movies, and a lot of them are duds like you would expect, but they had stuff like Wolf of Wall Street and World War Z on there. So not everything's just G-rated movies, which I actually appreciate because I might use it now. So if you want to listen to a new audiobook or watch a movie, it might be worth checking out your local libraries. Number 7 is simply to plan ahead. Most of us overspend because we get caught up reacting to situations instead of preparing for them ahead of time. And if you can anticipate needs and decisions early on, you can almost always save money because you're able to have the power of choice in that moment. Like take traveling, for example. My wife and I always plan way ahead for traveling in a couple different ways. Number 1, we save up extra money in a sinking fund in a high yield savings account. Number 2, if it's the month of, we basically make those a no spend month so that all of our money can go to vacation, which we're going to enjoy more anyways. And number 3, we plan ahead to only spend $100 per day maximum on food. That way, a 5-day road trip doesn't turn into a $5,000 expense. And as far as budgeting in general, saving up an emergency fund for unexpected events is a great way to avoid getting into something like credit card debt for stuff that you may not have needed to. The last thing you want to do is have your car break down or have your AC break like mine did recently, and you get quoted $15,000. That's a scary thing to deal with if you don't have an emergency fund to cover it. So make sure you always plan ahead so that you stay in charge instead of the circumstance. Number 8 is to meal prep. Now, I've been meal prepping almost as long as I've been budgeting, and it's been on and off at times depending on the season of life that I'm in, and there's really 2 big benefits that I get from this. Number 1 is the convenience of time, and number 2 is the amount of money that it saves. The average fast food meal in America costs a little over $11, but one of these meals that I make every week costs about $4. So if you combine the savings that you get with better and cleaner ingredients, then you have a pretty good recipe for success. Now, this one in particular, I've eaten for almost 6 years straight with slight variations. Essentially, all it is some rice, a little bit of ground beef or ground turkey, and then some beans. It's a very basic meal. It's very filling. I can add guac and salsa to it. So it's effectively a Chipotle bowl that I get to make at home for basically a third of the cost. And I think it goes without saying, you don't have to make this exact thing. You don't have to eat the same thing for 6 years straight like I have. That's just what I prefer. I still find it really good. You can make whatever you want, but the point is, if you make meals at home, it's typically going to be way cheaper than if you were to go out to eat every single day. It's going to be way healthier. So your health and your wallet are going to thank you. Yeah. Okay. Now this thing's like not comfortable. I can't find a good spot. Okay, this last one is for a very specific group of people, and it might even be more on the extreme side. I don't care. I absolutely love it. I've been using it for years. And that is to pre-game your protein. As gym bro-y as that sounds, if you are an athlete or somebody who just wants to get stronger and you like fitness, this is such a nice hack that I've used for a very long time, while also not being pressured to miss out on social events. Now, you guys already know this. I love going out to eat. It is my favorite thing in the whole world, but it can get expensive, especially when it comes to ordering extra meat. Pause. That said, I rarely say no to going out to eat with friends and family, but I always do it in a way that doesn't sabotage my financial goals or my fitness goals. It's very simple. Here's how it works. Before you go to a restaurant, make some cheap protein like chicken thighs or eggs at home and eat that right before you leave. That way, when you get to the restaurant, you won't be tempted to buy the biggest meal possible because you're not going to be starving. So you can spend less money at the restaurant, you still get to hang out with all your friends, you still get to eat good food, and you're hitting enough protein to be able to build strength or, do whatever fitness goals that you have. And the reason I say pre-game protein and not your carbs or your fats is because proteins are always the most expensive at restaurants. I mean, have you ever been to Denny's or IHOP and tried to order just one egg? They're like $2 or $3. It's insane. Eggs are like 25 cents a pop. So why would you spend 10x the price when you could just eat a few at home and then go buy just regular stuff there? I don't know. And if you really want to go crazy, only order appetizers when you get there and use that as your meal. Because again, you already got the bulk of your protein at home, so you can order appetizers, which are cheaper and sometimes they're more fun than the entrees anyways. So now you don't look like a loser who's just sitting at the restaurant eating nothing. You get to hang out with all your friends and family, and you get to get jacked along the way. As far as I'm concerned, it's a win-win for everybody. And while you're prepping your protein, check out the Nero app so you can make sure that you're tracking all your expenses and not overspending on stuff that you shouldn't. Again, links in the description. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.